In every neighborhood, there is always one person who seems determined to make life harder for everyone else. Sometimes it is a neighbor who nitpicks your lawn. Sometimes it is someone who calls the HOA over the smallest infraction. But in this quiet suburban community, the problem wasn't just noise complaints or parking disputes. This time it was something far more serious. This was about stolen mail, and the culprit was a woman the neighbors had come to call HOA Karen. Karen had a reputation. She was the type who believed the homeowners association rules were written for her benefit and her alone. She would march up and down the cul-de-sac, clipboard in hand, writing down every little violation she spotted. If your grass was half an inch too long, she noticed, if your trash can was visible from the street for even a minute too long, she snapped a picture and sent it to the HOA board. She lived for the power she thought she had, but underneath all the petty rule enforcing, Karen had another darker habit, one that crossed a line that even the HOA could not protect her from. Karen had started stealing mail. I'm telling you, 3 of my Amazon packages just vanished this month, and it's not porch pirates. They never even hit the ground. It's like someone's taking them right from the mailbox. Yeah, my credit card statement never showed up last week, and then I got hit with a late fee. I know something's going on. At first, the neighbors thought it was coincidence. Packages go missing all the time. Delivery services make mistakes. But when more and more letters, bills, and parcels began to disappear, suspicion started to grow. And somehow it always seemed to be Karen Street where the problems happened most. What the neighbors didn't realize was that mail theft is not just a petty nuisance. In the eyes of the law, it is a federal crime. And soon someone far more powerful than the HOA board was about to get involved. Oh, don't be ridiculous. Nobody's stealing your packages. Maybe you just weren't paying attention. People these days are so careless. Karen always brushed off the complaints with a smirk. But what the neighbors didn't know was that behind closed doors, Karen was rifling through their letters and boxes. Sometimes she took things she wanted. Other times she just enjoyed the thrill of knowing she had power over them. To her, it was a game. One particular package was the turning point. It wasn't an Amazon delivery or a box of clothes or even a greeting card. It was medication. Critical medication, shipped directly from a pharmacy to one of the elderly residents. And when that box vanished, it wasn't just an inconvenience anymore. It was a matter of health and safety. I don't understand. My insulin shipment was supposed to come yesterday. The tracking says it was delivered, but it's not here. Please, I can't go without it. That was the final straw. The neighbors had had enough. They began comparing notes, keeping track of which deliveries disappeared and when. And soon a pattern emerged. Every single time something went missing, Karen just happened to be outside, patrolling the neighborhood, pretending to check for HOA violations. She's doing it. I know she is. Karen's stealing our mail. I've seen her loitering by the boxes. But how do you prove it? How do you catch someone bold enough to walk up to your mailbox in broad daylight and steal from it? The neighbors knew they needed help, and that's when someone made the call. Not to the HOA, not to the local police, but to the United States Postal Inspection Service. The Postal Inspection Service is one of the oldest law enforcement agencies in America. And when it comes to mail crimes, they do not play around. Their agents investigate fraud, theft, and anything that interferes with the mail. And when they got word about Karen, they took the case very seriously. The neighbors didn't know it yet, but Karen's little game was about to end. And the sting operation that would finally bring her down was already being set in motion. Inspector Daniels was the first to arrive. He wasn't the kind of man who made a lot of noise when he walked into a room. Tall, serious, with a calm voice that instantly commanded respect, he spoke in measured tones that made it clear he was used to people trying to hide things. His job was to see through the lies. Good afternoon. I understand you've had a series of packages and letters go missing. I'll need detailed accounts from anyone who has been affected. Dates, tracking numbers, the type of mail, anything you can remember. Yes, I lost 3 Amazon packages. They said delivered, but they never showed up. My electric bill disappeared. I ended up paying late fees because I never got the notice. And my insulin, I don't know what I would have done if my daughter hadn't rushed to the pharmacy. Inspector Daniels wrote everything down. His expression never changed, but inside he was already forming a theory. Mail theft wasn't uncommon, but the consistency here was unusual. This wasn't random. Someone in the neighborhood had a system, someone who knew when the mail was delivered, someone who felt bold enough to strike again and again. Tell me, has anyone in the neighborhood been acting suspiciously? Anyone who seems to be around the mailboxes more than usual? Well, I don't want to point fingers, but there's Karen. She's always outside, always checking on people. And every time something goes missing, somehow she's there. Inspector Daniels had heard enough. He knew that accusing a neighbor without proof would lead nowhere. What he needed was evidence. Cold, undeniable, indisputable evidence. And that meant one thing: a sting operation. The plan was simple in theory but risky in practice. Postal inspectors would set up bait mail, specially prepared packages and letters, each with tiny tracking devices inside. These devices were nearly impossible to detect, but if someone picked up the mail and walked away with it, the inspectors would know exactly where it went. We'll place decoy packages in the mailboxes. Each one will be fitted with a tracker. If they're removed by anyone other than the intended recipient, we'll have a location in seconds. What we need from you is patience. Don't interfere. Don't confront anyone. Let us do our work. The neighbors nodded. They were frustrated, angry, and tired of Karen's behavior, but they understood the stakes. If Karen was stealing mail, she wasn't just breaking HOA guidelines or community rules. She was breaking federal law. That meant prison time, and Karen had no idea that her little game was about to be turned against her. These people act like they're so perfect, leaving their boxes unattended, leaving their packages out in the open. Honestly, if they lose something, it's their fault, not mine. Karen had convinced herself she wasn't really stealing. In her twisted logic, she was just cleaning up, taking care of packages that, in her mind, weren't being protected properly. But the truth was clear. She was a thief, and she had no idea that the mail she was eyeing next wasn't an ordinary delivery at all. It was bait. The day of the sting arrived. Postal inspectors had already set up discreet surveillance cameras near the community mailboxes. Small, almost invisible devices that blended into the surroundings. They placed the decoy packages inside, each carefully labeled, each equipped with a tracker. Then they waited. At first, nothing happened. The sun beat down on the quiet suburban street. Kids played on bikes, neighbors mowed their lawns, and the mail truck made its usual rounds. And then Karen appeared. She strolled down the sidewalk, sunglasses perched on her nose, pretending to check on lawns, pretending to examine trash bins. To the casual eye, she looked like she always did: nosy, intrusive, self-important. But the inspectors watching the live feed from their van knew exactly what she was up to. Let's see what we have here today. Oh, would you look at that? Nice little box just sitting there. They'll never miss it. Karen reached into the mailbox. She hesitated for only a second before sliding the decoy package under her arm. Then, as though nothing happened, she casually turned and walked back toward her house. Trackers live. She's on the move. Package is inside her property. In less than 30 seconds, the inspectors had confirmation. Karen had taken the bait, and now they had the proof they needed. But this wasn't the end. This was only the beginning. Because Inspector Daniels didn't just want one package. He wanted a pattern. He wanted to make sure that when Karen was confronted, she couldn't wriggle out of it with excuses or lies. So they waited again. Another day, another package, another theft. Each time Karen fell for it. Each time the trackers lit up. Each time the inspectors gathered more evidence. Karen had no idea she was digging her own grave with every package she took. She thought she was untouchable, shielded by her role as the self-appointed HOA watchdog. But in reality, she was walking straight into a trap, and soon that trap would snap shut.